I want to say this thing, I want to do this thing, I want to be myself in this way. I'm scared that it won't be accepted, and so actually let me be small. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I'm back with another question from the audience. This one comes from the lovely Stephanie. She says, I'd love to hear your thoughts about feeling the need to be professional when it comes to social media and your coaching business. I want to be myself, but if I'm honest, I feel like myself is too much for some people to handle. Like I need to tone it down, filter myself, etc. Where is the line between being yourself and being professional so that I can be taken seriously and people will know I'm trustworthy? I think this is such a great question, Stephanie, because it is something that I have been dancing in the line of figuring it out for myself, because we know we contain multitudes. We're one way with our casual acquaintances, another way with our deepest, closest friends, another way with our family, another way with the people that we work with. There's like infinite numbers of ways that we can show up in this world. And so trying to figure out what is the right way to show up in social media so that people trust you, but they also feel like they're talking to the real you can definitely be a question. I think what really gets me about this question though is not even about the professional part. It's really about, I feel like I'm too much for people. So I feel like I have to tone it down and filter. That's actually the root of the challenge, is that at some point in your life, most likely when you were younger, you were given the message that who you are was too much, that you weren't deserving of love as you were, that you weren't deserving of safety as you were, that you didn't deserve to be honored and cherished and celebrated for who you were, and instead it needed to be toned down, sanitized, cleaned up, shut down, and only if you showed up in this smaller way, in this less honorable, authentic, excited, beautiful way, only then would you be deserving of love. That's a very powerful, detrimental, harmful idea to have implanted in yourself, and that's an idea that many people have had, is that they can't really show up in their full selves because that isn't acceptable, and that will lead to you not belonging in the community, in the family, in whatever social situation you are part of. And I think in a lot of these Ask Questions, it kind of Ask Chimdi videos, it always comes down to the same thing, which is going back to those moments where you felt like you were too much and you weren't accepted and loved for who you were, and being able to feel that. So my understanding is that when we don't feel our feelings, they become the thing that unconsciously drives all of our behavior. And what we're trying to do is not feel that thing that was too much back then. So you don't want to feel what it's like when someone says, you're doing too much, calm down. And so you try to preemptively not do too much on social media, in your marketing, or wherever else, because that feeling back then was too overwhelming, and so you believe right now it would continue to be too overwhelming. And so that to me is the main motivation to heal, is because we end up driving and pushing and pulling and twisting and turning in ways that aren't really aligned, but are actually driven by fear and these unconscious feelings that we back then weren't resourced enough to feel. I also talk about resourcing a lot in these videos, and that can look like a bunch of things. For me, it's being in a very intensive 2-year program on healing trauma. It can look like getting a therapist, it can look like getting a coach, it can look like talking to your friends. The main thing is that when we need to regulate our nervous system, often our parents, our guardians, whoever was in charge, they didn't really have the resources to fully regulate with us. So when something would come up, it would be too much for them. And so instead of them understanding that, they would put that on us. But actually, they did not have the capacity to hold the space for the fullness of our emotions. And so resourcing yourself means being in communities, being in relationships with people who themselves are fully here, fully present. And so when you show up in all of your fullness, they can meet you where you're at and they're not getting overwhelmed. And so a therapist can be that for you, a friend can be that for you, a spiritual teacher can be that for you. Even being out in nature, that can help in ways as well. But the main thing is that you need to be able to express yourself and see that actually it's not too much. It was too much for someone who wasn't resourced for a parent or for a guardian, but you as you are not too much. It's impossible. Like, we're infinite. How could you, there's no such thing as too much in a world of infinity, right? And so the question really is, are you ready to get the resources you need to feel these really intense emotions that you believe you can't handle, and as a result are driving your decision making and how you show up in coaching? But if I had to guess, it's probably how you show up across your life, because there's really no difference when it comes down to it. Like, we are who we are. We take ourselves everywhere we go. So the same way you may be scared to show up in your full self online and in your marketing materials, there's a good chance in your relationships, in your friendships, in your family, and all these other ways you feel like, I want to say this thing, I want to do this thing, I want to be myself in this way. I'm scared that it won't be accepted, and so actually let me be small. And we know that that only hurts all of us. It hurts you, and it hurts the whole world when you don't feel safe enough to show up in your full beauty, because you have incredible gifts to share. You have incredible light that's shining in you, your humor, your gifts, your talent, your beauty, all these incredible, gorgeous things. It blesses the world when you get to express them. So if you're still holding on to the fears that say it's actually really not safe to express them, then the entire world is a little bit dimmer because you're not being yourself. So I believe that's why it's each of our responsibility, and it's actually an imperative for each of us to heal, because it allows the entire world to get brighter. And we do it as we are resourced, as we have capacity, as we feel like we can do it. And so I think even asking this question, because you've seen the videos, so you know what I get into in these videos. So you on some level knew, like, okay, I am ready to kind of look at these things and feel these things and experience these things. Just asking a question in a YouTube comment section, that is what I can do right now. That is the capacity that I have right now. And that's beautiful. Being where you are is beautiful. You may find that you're like, okay, that was really helpful. That really brought some light. Like, I feel a little bit better and I want to go further. And then you can take the next step that you feel is right for you. It could be booking a call with me, because I'm a creative coach and we can talk about this further, and I have more capacity and I can hold space for you. But it could look like going to a therapist, going to another coach, going to joining the Timeless Wisdom training and getting Thomas Huber to hold space for you, connecting with your friends. You have an endless number of resources when you are ready to do that inner healing work. And part of me doesn't want to call it work, but it is work, because it's a lot of crying. No one wants to do all that shit, but that's what it is, you know? And what you'll find on the other side, though, is that you are able to show up more like yourself in a way that is effortless and easy and is so embodied that you have people leaving comments saying, wow, you do that so easily. And you're just like, yeah, I cried a lot and I still cry a lot. But it's worth it, because now I have more joy and I have more peace and I have more love in my heart, and it's worth it. It is 100% worth it. So I hope this helps you, Stephanie. Like I said, you can always book some time with me if you want to get into it a little bit deeper. Patreon people, thank you. You remain the best. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.